The man who wanted to conquer death. 2. GAUTAMA's story. Many years I lived in my native village. I was a merchant. One day I made a great gain. When I saw all the money in a heap together, greed overcame me. I wanted more, had more money. So I began to add to my store penny by penny. But now that I possess so much money, I lived more miserably than ever. I was so entirely taken up with my greed. My only joy was the increase of my treasure. My only sorrow that I might someday lose what I had gathered together. One day I made a bad business. I went bankrupt. My whole fortune was gone. Groaning, I lay in my house. Then there came a yogi to my door, begging for alms. I screamed out at him, "I have lost all my money, and you ask me for alms." The yogi silently took his alms bowl and shook half of its content on my empty plate. I said, "Of what use is that to me?" He said, "To satisfy your hunger. What more do you wish? I have still something to eat, but all my money is gone. Now I am a poor man." The yogi said, "You fool. You don't know how sweet is the poverty to those who understand." When he had gone, I looked at the rice he had left on my plate. I thought, this man lives from hand to mouth, and yet he gives away half of that which he has begged. While I reflected upon my misfortune, it already had lost its bitterness. A doubt awoke in me. Maybe my previous way of life had not been the right one. If I carry on my business, may it not also someday go to ruin again? And shall I not then once more experience perhaps the great grief? Were it not better that I take my place of my own free will upon the lost step, where I can no longer lose anything, simply because I have no more to lose? Already half comforted, I fell asleep. The next day I was thinking quite differently of my misfortune. I said to myself, what does it matter whether or not I live knowing that such and such an amount of money lies hidden under my bed? I did not even enjoy it. I just hoarded it. I would have starved myself to death before using it. Am I not living now just as I lived before I had all this money? Without it, will I now live more at peace? Soon I convinced myself that the loss of my money was an advantage. With this new wisdom, I was able to lead a quiet life. I felt a great need of being alone. Every day I retired to my room and sat in meditation. I wanted to know what lay before me. I heard two voices within. One voice said, "Go on making money. Only money counts in this world. Only by having money can you be happy." The other voice said, "Money cannot make you happy. You may lose it again. Possessions chain you." This night, the day was I tortured by doubts. At last, I resolved to give up all and to spend my life as a holy man. I threw myself with ardor into the study of the holy scriptures and practiced mortifications. I tortured my body. After some time, my strict way of life attracted the attention of the people. Immediately, my ardor redoubled. Many people came to honor me. I was wearing an iron girdle around my body and told them, "I wear this girdle of iron because if my wisdom should increase much further, I might burst." Then one day came a wise man into our village. He had the reputation of the profoundest learning. A tournament of knowledge was arranged between him and me. The judge asked us, "Where is God?" I did not know it. Was God outside or inside of each of us? To save my reputation, I was at the point of saying, "I know how to find God." But my opponent said to me, "I see a spirit hovering over you with a drawn sword. He will cut your head if you speak the untruth." I did not dare to say a lie and admitted I lost the debate. And so my reputation of a holy man was gone forever. I sat in my cell and thought, where has my desire for fame brought me? A fan lay near me. I took it up and began to fan myself. As the cooling air passed over my face, the thought came to me, when this fan is moved backward and forward, a wind arises. May not the great wind that blows over the world arise in a similar way? We say, that is God's doing. But may it not also be merely the effect of a cause? Like this tiny breeze here blowing on my face? Every effect has a cause. And every cause is the result of another effect. And so, no God is needed. How do I know that there is something divine? It may be so, it may not be so. Who can ever prove it one way or another? Whether they are gods or not might keep us arguing over our whole life. But the evil dispositions of the heart still remain. Whether with gods or without them, we should only seek after what is certain in ourselves. We should work on what we can work on, and not waiting for any God to do what we should do. After doubting in this way, I understood. What a stupid thing is this desire for fame. The priest and me, the two of us have been fighting over the thing about neither of us knows anything, nor shall ever know anything. Is that priest now greater because his sharp mind is superior to mine? Was it really worth having sacrificed a whole day to such a useless debate? I tore from my body the girdle of iron and renounced the ascetic life. I said to myself, I better do some useful occupation. And so I became a school teacher in a neighboring village. There I lived quietly for several years without much joys nor sorrows. One day I had to make a journey to a distant village. When I arrived there, I saw a girl with a water pot on her head. When I saw her slender body and her graceful movements, I burst into flames of desire for her like a straw. I followed her to her house. There I was standing outside on the street, looking at the open door. After a while, the girl came out, saw me, and asked, "Are you waiting for someone?" I said, "Yes, for you." She laughed and asked, "Are you a stranger?" "Yes." "Are you hungry?" "Yes." "Please come in. Share our meal." I was staying with the family for a few days. Then I asked her father, "I want to marry your daughter." But the father said, "No, I cannot give her to you. You seem to be quite poor. With you, she will have a miserable life. That, the father, I cannot allow." Very sad, I went back to my village. Gone was the peace of my heart. Again, I took up business and worked very hard. As soon as I had saved some money, I bought a golden bracelet and went to my adored one. She accepted it kindly, for she also loved me. Now it happened that there was a great flood. The river Ganges overflowed its banks to an extent never before known in the memory of man. The place, however, where I lived lay upon a hill and was not affected. One night I went along the stream in order to see the rising of the waters. On the river bank I saw laying a human body that had been floated down by the flood. It lay on its face and moaned. Full of sympathy, I sprang to its help. As I bent over it, I saw that the hands were tightly clasped about a little case. Something golden was shining in it. At that moment, greed overcame me. I thought, here is the money for my marriage. In one instant, I was transformed from a compassionate saver of human life to a sure robber. I took the case out of the woman's hand and rolled the body quickly back into the water. As it rolled, the hair, which had covered the entire head like a hood, parted a little. Just then the moon emerged from behind a cloud, and I saw the face of my beloved. I pulled the girl out of the water, and I took her in my arms and carried her to the nearest hut. Through the efforts of the good people there, she came back to life. Meanwhile, I slipped away, for it would have been impossible for me to look her in the face. That night I was as if a storm wind raged within me. I did not know what to do, whether to throw myself into the flood or to throw myself at her feet, confess everything and implore her pardon. Tired of this inner struggle, I fell into a restless sleep. When I awoke, I began to look sharply into my love. And suddenly I realized, what after all is this love through attachment? Love is uncertain and plagued with misery. All the love in me had been burned up in this one night. Life is just like a smoke. Love is just like a smoke. One cannot see clearly. Then I decided to cast from me forever this love to which I had clung. Next morning, the entire village praised me. At the danger of his own life, this man has saved his beloved from death. He's a hero. And the father of the girl came to me and said, because you have saved my daughter, I will give her to you, for she loves you. When the flood came, she took nothing but the bracelet you gave her and put it into that little box. I could not answer a word, but turned away in silence. Night fell, and Gautama became silent. The trees stood motionless. Peace lay over everything. The old man sat beside Gautama. It seemed as though words were no longer necessary. After telling his story, how simple everything appeared now. After a while, Gautama broke the peaceful silence and said, Father, I am no longer what I used to be. What is growing in me is death. The old man looked at him and smiled gently. What is love? Gautama said. I remember what it was to me when I saw the girl for the first time. My heart beat so violently. The world was afire and all things became alive. But the calmness of the old man made Gautama impatient. He said, I'm sure you have never experienced love yourself, so you cannot understand that of which I speak. The old man looked at him steadily and said, I loved long before you were born. I will not tell you my story. It is over now, like a storm that has passed. Because you know not what love means, I will tell it to you. When a woman is yours and you are thrilled at the touch of her, to clasp one another by the hand and move on through life. You're like two white clouds floating softly side by side, swayed by the same wind. But Gautama cried, but that is not the love I mean. Love with the longing to be always together, the deep yearning for the blending of two souls in one, that hot desire to soar in one breath with her into felicity. The old man said, the hot desire dies out. The body of your loved one will wither and pass away within the cold earth. The leaves of the trees fade in autumn, and the withered flowers drop sadly to the ground. How can you love that so much, which does not last? Why this striving after happiness that lasts but a moment and then vanishes again? Do not seek happiness in a woman. She is only a poor creature like yourself. Do not seek happiness with her. The highest happiness is no happiness. Gautama was silent for a while, reflecting. In the stillness of the evening lay a great sadness. Above the horizon where the sun had set, there glimmered a faint red light, like dying pain. The old man said, the love of a woman, this poor, sad love, these few moments of fleeting joy are nothing in comparison with that endless bliss I enjoy now. But Gautama cried, Father, I have trembled at the thought of death. With what breathless horror I have realized how the body of my love must one day grow old and crumble away in the cold, dark earth. I could never feel again that blessed peace at the look into her eyes. Now my thoughts are turned towards nothing but death. Only through longing for death can I endure life. What good is it that I have overcome the desire for gold and the desire for fame and the love of a woman if now I fear death? I want to overcome death also. Therefore, I ask you once more, how do I know? How do I overcome death? The old man smiled and said, remain here, sweep my hut, bring me fresh water, prepare the food, and speak no word. Do this for 3 years, and after that time you may ask your question again.